if you are working a job, but you have a side hustle going or a side business, and you're not sure at what point you should ditch the job and go for the side business full time, then this video is for you. My name is Kevin Espiritu. I'm the founder of Epic Gardening, which I believe is the world's largest gardening education company, and we also offer a ton of products as well. So feel free to check that out. This is just my personal channel where I talk about some business and life learnings that I've had. Just remember that it's coming from me. It's my experience in life. It does not necessarily mean it's going to work or be true for you. So always evaluate things with a critical eye. So just a brief history here. I've been going on Epic Gardening for 6 years now, full time. And prior to that, I had a job for about a year and a half. Prior to that, I had pretty much a hodgepodge of small side businesses that weren't really doing that well. Like I could pay my bills, but the businesses themselves weren't building a lot of value. So I went to work at a company called Scribe Media. Back then it was called Book in a Box. I was the second employee there and learned a lot about running a business. Of course, Epic Gardening was also running on the side. So think about this and try to map my life experiences to yours. Maybe you're working, let's say, as an accountant and you have a business selling candles on the side. There's really only two variables, in my opinion, on when you should stop doing one thing and focus 100% on the other. So one of them is the most obvious, and it's when the cash flow from your side business is equivalent or greater than your salary. So let's say you're taking home $5,000 a month, you're making $60,000 a year. So you do have to consider some taxes here. So let's just say $4,000 net, right? Let's say your business is making $2,000 gross, $1,000 net. Well, you're 4 times lower than what your actual salary is. So it might be very difficult to grow the business and support yourself. So one way to think about this, is the simplest way, is when the side hustle or the side business net income exceeds the amount that your salary makes. So let's say you get the candle business up to about $10,000 a month. Half of that is product expense, and then you want to pay yourself $2,500 a month, and you think that you can live off of that. Well, then that might be a good time to go ahead and focus on the candle business, because if you think about it, you're now no longer splitting your time probably 80% towards the job and 20% towards the side business. Now you're going 100% towards the side business, 0% towards the job. So the theory here is that you should be able to grow the company a lot faster if you're spending 100% of your time on it. The other way to do this is to think about it from just your appetite for risk and your tolerance for drawing down things like your savings. So in my example, when I quit Book in a Box or Scribe Media at the time, basically I had many months of income saved up. So I didn't really have to worry about Epic Gardening not really providing for me in the early times. I believe when I quit, I was making about $500 a month from Epic Gardening, which of course that business also had expenses. So when I say making, I mean the gross revenue was $500 or $600, and my expenses were probably somewhere close to that. So it wasn't really making much money at all. However, I had enough months of savings saved up, over a year's worth, that I knew that quitting, I would be fine for at least a year. And if I focused full attention, I should be able to grow that business much more rapidly. So what I did is I ended up quitting, and the goal was to get it to what I call basic level replacement income in a few months' time, which for me meant I needed to grow it from about $500 a month. I had to grow that business to about $3,000 or $4,000 a month. So that was priority number one the second I quit the job. I went straight in on the tasks in the business that I thought would get that job done. And it turns out it actually happened. So in about 2 or 3 months, I had gotten the business, Epic Gardening, up to about $3,000, $4,000 a month in income. And there you go. I was now no longer drawing my savings down, or my burn rate, my personal burn rate, had been lowered very significantly. So maybe I was only losing a couple $100 a month instead of a couple $1,000 a month. Well, all of a sudden, my emergency fund or my savings runway has now expanded to many more months. You know, let's say I had, call it $20,000 in the bank account, and I was spending $2,000 a month. Well, then you have 10 months of savings, right? Well, if you cut your burn down to, say, $500 a month, well, then all of a sudden you have 40 months of runway. So you have a lot of time. And that's really the inflection point you want to look at when you're switching from a full-time job into a business, because you're playing by a different set of rules. In your full-time job, you know exactly what you're making every month, unless you're commissioned or something, and you know what your post-tax take-home is. It is a very flat, linear progression. You make $5,000 a month, maybe next year you get a little bit of a raise, but no matter what, it's linear. You're not really making these huge jumps. In the business, your top line is actually not your top line. Of course, it's not what you take home, right? In a job, your 5,000 is what you take home, then you pay taxes and you're good. In this candle business we were talking about, you need to back out, let's say you made 5,000, you need to back out your product cost, your advertising costs, your software, your team, your own salary. And so pretty quickly that starts dropping down significantly, and that's why you really have to kind of crunch the numbers and figure this out. So there's really two parts to this. One, do you have replacement level income with the job compared to the business? And then number two, what's your appetite for risk? AKA, how many months of savings do you feel comfortable burning down before you can make that business work? I think in my position, I'm not extremely risk prone. And so what I wanted to do is make sure I was in a spot where both the knowledge that I needed to quit the job and feel successful in the business, as well as the income I had saved up, was enough that in my personal sort of calculation, I thought that it was effectively a zero risk move to make, because I would always be able to go back, maybe not to that job, but to a similar job and replace my income again if it didn't work out. If you have any other questions about this juxtaposition between full-time salary, side hustle, and then business on the other side of it, please let me know down in the comments. I am answering a lot of different questions here on this channel. Until next time, peace out and good luck.